Welcome, ghouls, demons, and fellow weird ones. And here we are for, I guess, a collection or project one of the Living Art series, where I'm going to dive into the projects that I have on my website so far. And then I will continue to do the tale behind the project. I don't know what title I'm going to get that one. Oh, cheers, everybody. We have to toast before every video, right? Okay. So here we are. I realized that I didn't finish a couple thoughts. Of course I didn't. In my last video, it was very me about everything. But for those, a little secret is that I do batch content most of the time because of all the projects that I have and everything that I'm busy with. And that's why a lot of things feel like catch up. So I'm also trying to build like a really solid pace in how I reel this out to everybody. So with that, you might recognize some of the pieces with this new outfit. So this was, as a lot of my outfits are, like they start with a concept and then they kind of they take on a life of their own by adding different pieces. So that other look that was the original idea, was I wanted this underneath it. But then, I thought this was just kind of a cute, sassy and quirky look. And of course you would still need the big hair, because from the last video, you would understand that this was inspiration for Goth Prom. That was Labyrinth themed. So this was one of my other like David Bowie kind of style looks. I love lace, just a little bit of leather. Very nice. Ties in the shoes. And, ever since I broke this ankle, my balance has not been the same. And I'm working on it, but fuck, it's been years and it's still devastating. But anyway, figuring it out still. So with that, what I like about this is how it flares out. It's real, just kind of cutesy and pops out, which adds to the flare of the sleeves, which you might recognize the sleeves from my goth Sarah ball gown that I created. That was black and gold, very weird curations, very on brand. So I really loved everything about that. But yeah, so I make batch content, and you might notice through this that the outfits kind of layer. And I firmly believe that everything in life is layered. I'm very much like Shrek. I think I've said that a few times. Ogres are like onions. Life is like an onion. Everything is deeply layered. And then that gets into like frequencies. And I think it's a level of like what quantum physics, not to like try to sound smart, but like everything starts at the center and like radiates outward, our unconscious, subconscious, conscious, and it just keeps flowing. So my fashion kind of resembles that in its own way. And then you also see in nature how things are interlayered and interconnected and all that fun stuff. So I love that that is a representation of the fashion within my fits. But this also ties into an explanation behind why I do those little like runway walks, my little promo videos. I twirl around in my my little studio, my apartment. I keep my dogs comfy because they have to be near me. They love being next to me. This is kind of like our living room space. And it's also just kind of showing the self-expression side, the Leo moon side, and promoting more of my creative endeavors, which I started to post more about, which ties into my thought about how TikTok doesn't quite recognize me. Because as I was talking in that other video about how I got kind of like, not really pushed out. I hit a really sad, it was sad, dark, restful, cocoon phase of my life. Things were going really big for me, and I was going in one direction, and COVID happened, which I'm sure that happened to everybody. But not just that, I met my husband, my now husband. He wasn't my husband back home. Just this man who I didn't know why my heart was getting all like fluttered about. So much intuition within my husband. I dealt with a lot of stuff. Like I was in a car accident. I talked about the broken ankle. Um, do I mention that? Why not? I have a gun charge. I was arrested during my car accident, by the way. A car accident that wasn't my fault. That's a whole other story, tangent of things. But life was really like swept up from underneath me in a lot of ways. And I kind of went back to how I was in high school. So in the previous video, I mentioned in high school where I really just wore band t-shirts and jeans. And like, every now and then I have my flat iron blonde hair, sometimes a makeup look, and very rarely, but on occasion, a ponytail. I got real into messy buns, which is still a signature of mine. I love a good messy bun. But there was just this period where I wasn't fully expressive of myself. I wasn't as flamboyant as I wanted to be. And that's why I think there is a lot of confusion and disconnect with people who think that they know me. Anyone who's known me on a real deep level knows how much I love to go balls to the wall with a good fit. So anyway, me and my husband, and I'm stuck in a loop of work, gym, bed, work, gym, bed. Not, and there's like, little in between, like ritual meditation stuff, but COVID, like, is when I really start, like, hey, I have all of this time. I can't do anything. So I really focused on like my meditative work. I wasn't just like fitting it in, for 2018 to 2019, I was just kind of like integrating that into my life, but not like committing to it in like a daily disciplined practice. And COVID really allowed me to do that. My car accident and all the legal stuff and all of the above put a hindrance in that. It helped it and did it. It shifted it and it kind of created all of this stuff. But anyway, then I became known as the girly pop in her husband's oversized band t-shirts. And then like I would have like boy shorts or sometimes as boxers. I don't know if they would still be on my feed, but there's a few where I'm in my husband's boxers and like some big t-shirt or whatever. And that's how I started on TikTok, making my mason jar candles and talking about some of my beginning practices of spirituality and witchcraft, which, like I said, that was when I was like actively experimenting and defining it for myself. Like I had all of these other practices and I had a lot of knowledge. I had a lot of understanding things. But this is when I was really figuring out how to make it my own, which I think that it is important, it is significant to differentiate that. And I feel like especially in spiritual spaces, as soon as you say like, hey, I'm new to practicing, people automatically assume you don't know anything about anything at all. And that's just not the case. Some people don't know anything about anything. I'm that person. I research things into the ground before I act on it. I want to be fucking insanely certain about what it is that I'm doing. I take action very seriously. So I sit in pause, in contemplation, in observation for a very long time before I actively start doing something. So at this point in my life, I was tired of not taking action. I was tired of living in my head. I was tired of so many different things. But that's how I debuted on TikTok. Uh, for people, because again, my Instagram has always been fairly well documented over this like fashionista, more flamboyant, creative side of me. And my Instagram's not huge. My personal Instagram's like at like 1,100 followers. Like, and these are people who have met me or known me to some capacity in my life, high school, middle school, all of my different adventures, and girly pops at the bar. It just kind of depends, but I never really had this like viral success where on TikTok I've had random spouts of viral success. People have not seen me expressing myself at my best. So many different things happened in my life where I was just dressing just for comfort and simplicity. Like it is now, I love a good dress. I think it's real chill to just slip on a dress and go about my day. That is casual to me, even if it doesn't seem casual to others. A good dress and good flip flop, my vibe. Honestly, I love being barefoot. I'm wearing shoes for these episodes, for this series, because a lot of people are like, what shoes would you wear? And I'm barefoot all the time. It looks a little weird to be barefoot with the tights, but I like being barefoot. I really do. If I could build up solid calluses on my feet, I would be barefoot everywhere, but it's also itchy. So gross to go out in public. But that's why I wear just a flip flop. My friend Maisie makes fun of me because I'll have my flip-flops or my slides. She doesn't make fun of me. She had made a joke about me and my slides, and it's apparently a signature of mine, which I don't mind. I love that. I love being known as the barefoot frizzy hair witch. I think that that's fabulous. But when I'm just chilling or when I'm like lost in hyperfixation mode, I'm in my husband's clothes. I'm in his baggy sweats, his baggy t-shirts, his old clothes that he's given me that I've gotten to adopt. It's not so much that I dress up for the public. I dress up for myself and I dress up for certain public appearances. But if I'm just going to be comfy, I'm just going to be comfy. And that includes me just like throwing on a dress or an oversized t-shirt. Like that is a big part of me. But there was just this like routine in my life where I was like, okay, I was sleeping a lot and going to the like that's all my husband and I really did. Even when we go, like he would take me to really fancy restaurants, without fucking warning, and I would be in his sweats or something really loungy, and he kind of just really taught me like, I dare them to say something to you, I dare them to judge you, I really liked that because it was this understanding for me I don't have to perform for people. There was a time where me doing what I loved felt like a performance because if I wasn't 100% that flamboyant, extravagant version of myself at all times, then I was a fraud. It was just this humbling moment that a lot of people in my life were like, see, look at her. So then I just got where I had to find confidence in my ugly side, which was the overly baggy sweats and no one really knowing what my figure looked like, like letting my acne show, letting my hair be a mess, like, because I hyperfixate on perfectionism pretty bad. It's pretty intense, pretty brutal. Few people have seen how ugly those meltdowns can be, when I'm just wanting things to be fucking perfect. I just want it to work out. And so a lot of ego deaths, a lot of breaking down my self-importance on how much it really doesn't matter and that perfection is an illusion in itself. And my husband really taught me that through these moments. And then as I've started to feel better and also clear off my plate, because that's another thing. It just became convenient to not have to worry about, like, I lost the spark for the thoughts that goes into creating an outfit, putting something together the way that I do. Like, it takes time, it takes energy, it takes intention. And I lost that because I was so busy. It's like, well, I'm working full time in OT. I am a mother to these animals that, like, German Shepherds they require a lot of maintenance. My cats, not as much maintenance as these two beautiful shepherds here. And then, being a wife, like my husband and I have our division of the housely duties that we've agreed upon. And mine is cooking. And I love cooking, but that takes time. And so doing this and I'm trying to run a business and I'm trying to write, I'm trying to create candles and I'm trying. So like the last thing I wanted to create was any type of expression of me that was me, not like an external validation of me. And over the last, it's been like 3 years, I really kind of pushed out, like broken free from that where I was like, no, I am important. Not that I didn't think I was important before, but I understood that without these moments for myself, everything else was kind of losing its magic. Like my cooking wasn't as special or as like pretty. Like I was so weighed down and so tired all the time. And a big part of that was the certain environments. And I blame my OT environment for that a lot. The medical field, like stripping everyone down into scrubs and being in all the gritty dirtiness that is a hospital. And like, hey, more power to everyone who can that's their vibe. It was not my vibe. In fact, like I was in a lot of jobs where I didn't really get to like express myself fully. Even when I worked in retail and worked at Justice, a little girl store, and they wanted you to dress up, you couldn't really wear like too much casual. Like, you couldn't wear sweats. You had to wear at least leggings. And you had to dress it up a little bit. I still didn't feel like I could express myself because of my more edgier style, and I thought that it would be looked down upon in such a very girly, preppy, pinks and purples, like not like a goth aesthetic at all. And so I just kept fitting myself into these boxes to survive. I guess is like one of the best ways I could put it. And so this is a huge breaking free of that and debuting myself to the world in this way, with full confidence. And again, building that into my life because I need it. Not everyone may need it. And this could be ridiculous to some people, but I need a job, a career in which I am expressing myself. Like the fact that I get to create an outfit and dress up and yap. I love talking. So I love talking. I love fashion. This just seems like my way of creating that. And it's not like I have nothing to say. I feel like I have a lot of significant and important, meaningful things to talk about that a lot of people, especially women, can relate to as I've gone through this healing journey of self discovery and self expression. And I have found that it does matter. It is that deep with what you wear. Is when it comes from a place of who you are. And I know a lot of people get lost in aesthetics, and that doesn't mean I can't do like a alternative. Like I'm not a cowgirl by any means, but that doesn't mean I won't southern gothic it up. And I think that there is a spectrum and again a small pool of tolerance. I talked about the small pool of tolerance in my last video. And I think that that is important when it comes to fashion and people expressing themselves in a variety of different ways, you know, especially in the goth, like you can't be you can't be alternative, you can't be goth if you have X belief. And you find that people have quite complex belief systems and structures. And just because they have one conservative belief doesn't mean that they're inherently or entirely conservative. Because I met liberals. Holy fucking shit, man. My uncle, my dad's side, Uncle Felix, he's a great example of this. Like, he's anti-gun, but he'll be quick to call someone a stupid liberal, which is very interesting to me. His belief system, his structures, I couldn't label him if I tried. And that's just a brief example that explains my uncle. He also has a brain injury. So like he's a little erratic. He's a really interesting dude. Sagittarius. Love him. Like very interesting man. I've only gotten to interact with him a couple times. And in those few times I've learned a lot. He's a very, very intriguing person to talk to because of how complex he is and the way he expresses himself through his brain injury. But it's enlightening and insightful in a lot of ways if you allow it to be. And so anyway, with that, that goes into my small pool of tolerance. I feel like there is a general core foundation of human empathy and acceptance and tolerance that sits within this full spectrum of how people choose to express themselves. And so with that, we're getting into the tale behind the creative projects, and not just keep ranting about all of those stories. But yeah, I feel like I'm debuting myself with shoes and you know, the foundational aspect of fashion. I do love a good shoe, but to me shoes are literally just for photos and to walk outside. To get me from point A to point B rather than that, I want to be barefoot. And then showing people that just because you know me as this homely sweatpant party city witch bitch that all of you labeled me as for so many years, there is a lot more to me than any of you thought. So being very loud about it, I feel like I deserve to be grandiose, flamboyant, and scream "fuck you" from the rooftops to the entire internet. And not just the internet, my high school, my family, and a lot of people who just for whatever reason always underestimated me and wanted to humble me into thinking that I was less than. And so with that, we're going to talk about what the first shoot on here, which is called Rainbow. This is fun. That's a fun bridge. Rainbow Bridge. All right. Okay. So this one, which if you want to see these, please go check out my website, wyrdcurations.com. It's called Living Art. You'll go to the portfolio and see all the collection. So this one's called Rainbow. I called it Rainbow. My fabulous friend Marco. Okay, he's gay. And especially in our hometown, growing up gay the way that he did, it was probably really tough on him. I know he had a pretty difficult family life, and I don't want to, like, air his dirty laundry out too much, but I think it's really important that this is called Rainbow. He went through a very similar friendship breakups that I went through. We were somewhat involved in a similar group of friends that had a deep betrayal. He moved to Phoenix. I think he's still in Phoenix. I hope he's living a fabulous life. We don't talk as much. Life just moved on, but I will always want the best for my sweet little baby boy. Oh my gosh, he's so sweet. He has such a spark in his inner child playfulness to him. I really I cannot think of his birthday at this moment in my life. That is interesting. Anyway, so he wanted to take photos and he had this look. And he told me he had this vision. It's a fucking carpet store. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure it's a carpet store. It had this like rainbow wall. And he was like, I want to take photos up against, like, I think that'd be really cool. And I was like, okay. So I did like rainbow makeup. Cause I used to have like a good spectrum of like makeup, where now I'm lucky to have more than just mascara and eyebrow pencil. Cause I definitely have bald spots in my eyebrows from a lot of inappropriate waxing. But anyway, so I just kind of put together this look based off of some guidance he gave me, and I went with this bralette and this skirt that I just wanted to accent the rainbow wall. And I don't he put my bracelet up on, like, 'cause I think I brought him a few things, or he came over. Did he come pick me up? I can't quite remember all of it. I mean, this was back in 2017. This is almost 10 years ago. And so I can't quite remember certain small details, but I'm pretty sure he came pick me up or something. But he picked out a few of my accessories. I'm wearing his hat, his fabulous hat, which I've learned. That was the moment I realized, oh, because I don't think I look good in ball caps. But I only ever really ball with like a ball cap or like a trucker hat. And that's when I dove into the realm of hats through Marco. Absolutely. But yeah, so it was very New Mexico, real southern gothic. I felt that vibe. The cross jewelry is that is a huge staple of not just New Mexico, but Farmington, New Mexico. My husband laughed when he saw these. He goes, "You're wearing crosses? They're upright?" And I was like, it's not about the cross. It's not about Christianity. It's just it's a vibe. It's an aesthetic. It's a symbol of whatever it is that we're creating. I don't fully know how to express it more than that. But I didn't have my ring in. I just got my nose ring. I hadn't had it that long, maybe just a few months, because I got it done that year. But I had a little stud, and then I had the big earrings and the matching necklace. But he put one of my bracelets, he put it on my arm, and I was like, oh, that's like sassy. I loved it. And so we took some nature like pics out in the desert, but we mostly had that rainbow wall. Man, that was probably the tannest I've ever been. Okay, everyone knows how pale I am. If you look at these photos, you'll see when I was in New Mexico, a lot of my Hispanic and Italian features came out because I was darker. I tanned a little bit, not a whole lot. Like in a tanning bed, I went a few times, especially for prom. So this was like 3 years after my senior prom. Yeah, so this was right before I moved to Michigan. So I was 21 years old. And I just got this tattoo. So you see me with like less, I have my side piece, but I didn't have my full sleeves. I have my half sleeve, and it was fairly freshly done, which, oh gosh, is so gorgeous. So anyway, all of this. And you also see, I had been briefly powerlifting. I wasn't as deep in the powerlifting. I was and I wasn't. It was more casual than it became in Michigan. So I call it my witchy awakening, because it feels Stevie Nicks, feels Fleetwood, but like in a Southwest rockabilly maybe kind of way. Uh, it was a really great experience, and I absolutely love it. I know Marco and I decided about this. He came to town to visit, I believe, maybe even between like school, because I know he was living in Phoenix. He came back for a little bit. We went to the fuck was that restaurant? It was a really nice restaurant in Durango, Colorado. That's where you, if you grew up in Farmington, New Mexico, you went up to Durango to get some nice local cuisine. It was like a steakhouse. And we had a fancy, I still have it. It's not hung up. Um, it's probably tucked away in my other photos, but he gifted me before we left a photo of us from that night. And I mean, that was another night I had my thigh high boots and had this really nice tight fitted gray, like sweater dress and like my hair, everything. And Marcus he made me feel so loved and supported. I remember that. And that's when we kind of were talking about this idea. And then after we had that beautiful, luxurious dinner, then we created this idea. And a couple days later, we did the photo shoot. And then, I mean, it had to have been maybe not even a month later. Maybe a month I moved. It could have been even a couple weeks. Like I moved to Michigan in August. And I think this was July, August. Like this was one of those few moments before I left New Mexico. And I don't know, it's one of the best ways I could have left my hometown to like never move again. Especially, I wrote on an Instagram post, like in reflection, it was really highlighted where I've been headed in my life. Because a lot of my other photo shoots from New Mexico were my blonde hair. Like, I had those from my senior year of high school, and a couple things that I did blonde. And then I never really did anything because I mean, I was kickboxing. There's some kickboxing photos of me from Steve, the kickboxing coach. He was trying to get me a fitness modeling thing. He thought I was gorgeous and had enough talent to get me into some kind of industry there, which my mom shut down, and maybe rightfully so. There's some rumors that Steve was a little predatory. I think he's not fully innocent, but innocent enough. I didn't feel overly threatened by him. Definitely like a chill con artist, so to speak. 'Cause I mean, he taught boxing at my college. He was the boxing instructor at the college. He had a legit college job, and there's a lot that goes into all of that. But my mom shut that down. I was working 5 jobs. Got myself through OT school. By this time, I had gone down to 2 jobs, even really 1. I kind of faded out the law firm, fortunately. It's just because my life was getting easier, only focusing on being a personal assistant. I was making better money, and I just didn't have, and I could focus on stuff like this. My mental load wasn't as overwhelmed. But I do have, like, some regret for not taking the law firm a little bit more seriously, or leaning into that opportunity as much as maybe I should have, but I still appreciate it for what it was. But this was a whole transition of me into this beauty realm, and, like, I had the winged eyeliner, I had thicker brows. Yeah, there's so much, within this, and it's beautiful. So the reflection of it is everything I would want to be. But I have it as like my first shoot since I started putting all of this out there. I had candle pictures before I started posting this. I started putting I put this on my website. Man, I think it was winter of 2024. I might have started, yeah, I don't think, it might have been like at the very end of 2023. But because I met Todd, because I was at Todd's house when I did it. I used his computer because there was no way I could have done this at my house in Wales with the lack of internet. We weren't able to get internet at that house. There was so many problems with that house. But I didn't have any of this on there. I have my candles. I had a lot of different things, but when I started to learn more about my website, because my website, I started Capricorn season of 2022, December 22nd of 2022. And then 2023 kickstarted, and I started my blog. Like, this was something, I didn't have this as a foundation when I released my website as even something I was sharing with people. It was something that part of me, I feel like, thought was gonna stay in the past, like no longer something I was doing. Could be, I don't know, could be because I was married, and my husband, he is not against my modeling. He's protective. And one thing I realized is, one, I mean, there's some, like, the America's Next Top Model showed everybody just how absolutely atrocious the modeling world could be. And we've all known the dark side of it. I mean, you even look at like the Epstein stuff going on. There's been a lot of darkness in the beauty industry. And so I feel like his protective nature helped shield me from certain realms of that. I always like, especially in reflection, I always felt like I was protected more than it was a missed opportunity. I always felt like my next opportunity was just around the corner. And if it wasn't this one, it's going to be another one. But at this time, I was like, well, I'm going to do candles. I'm doing like other witchy things. And I wasn't doing as many like shoots, especially after the catastrophe with like OnlyFans. I think that put like a really bad taste in my mouth and everyone's mouth about how do moving forward. There was a lot there. Um, and so I kind of had stopped doing it, but then like there was this moment where it's like, because Chad kept telling me, he goes, "You're pushing like just candles like too much. You're pushing just candles too much," and I got real irritated. I was very upset over anyone. Just candles are not just candles. Like this is such a huge like art piece that takes a lot of effort and energy, and that's not all that I can do. But I just didn't understand why people couldn't accept that I wanted to focus on one thing at a time or only. I was like, I'm so tired of being a jack of all trades. I'm tired of spreading myself too thin. I mean, I have the blog post and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, but I can't do it all. And then after Doyle died, and I was going through photos, I found a lot of these like older photos and then I started digging for more of them, and I was just like, you know what? I can figure out how to balance my plate. I don't need to wipe my plate clean and only have a steak on it. I can have I can have my steak and I can have my potatoes and I can have my veggies and I can have my nice little fruity cocktail and I can be happy. And it can be balanced. How do I portion all of this out? And that started this whole thing. And so I was going through all my photos and I had the collections and I told Tom, I was like, okay, so I need like a night at your computer, with your Wi-Fi, with your high-speed internet, and I'm doing this. And he was there through a lot of the process. I was like, I don't know if this is gonna break the boundary of our friendship or, paternal figure, uncle figure, Todd. I don't want it to be weird, but like these are photos that I've done and I want to put it out there and I want to acknowledge myself as just an artist, not a model. I kind of tried to get away from like the modeling side of it and I'm just an artist. If I have to just be anything, it's an artist. And I wanted this to be the foundational piece because I have my black hair. I mean, in some of these, you see my red hair in some of the portraits because I went from black to red, back to black. But I've never gone back blonde. And I did try purple like strips for a little bit that might be present in some of those. I don't think so. Um, but you kind of see even my colors. So like my colors for my brand is the red and gold and black. There's like white or off-white, cream, beige, and every now and then I throw out like a deep amethyst purple. I really love that color scheme together. Don't have a whole lot of purple on my website, but I do like if anyone who's been to a market of mine knows my pop of purple that I put out there. Amethyst is my birthstone, and so that's always kind of floating around somewhere. But I love those purples and reds and that spectrum of things. Very Capricorn Aquarius stellium of me. So anyway, I made this rainbow, the foundation of my portfolio, and then I created like the living art. Like I'm trying to think. No, well, I think I had a few now that I'm like really thinking about it. No, because that would have been what did that sorry, I am trying to remember dates. Because I know I backtracked on a few things, but let's see, let me look at this one real quick. Oh yeah, no, okay. That's right. So that's how yeah, because I had all these photos and I was keeping them to myself, and then I was kind of posting a little bit on Instagram, but also not really. A lot of it I was just not doing anything with it. That's what it was. And then once I created this portfolio and started putting these projects out there, then I continued on like doing projects. And that's where I was getting lost is it's like, when did I decide to actually put all these on there? Yeah, that's crazy. Sorry, it's just so crazy to me how these moments happen. And then once I get over myself, then it's just all of this stuff. And I was like, well, hold on, like the dates of how they're all layered and all of the above, because there's the Lupercalia photo shoot. And that was one of my first like modern photo shoots that I put on my because I did the photo shoot. That was like what it was. I was still taking photos. Sorry to be scattered, but I was still taking photos to post on Instagram to promote my poetry. Cause like I went from just candles to, well, I now I'm, opening myself up as a writer, and I started creating stories, and I had these poems that I was sharing that I was trying to promote myself as a writer. So then I was continuing to take photos to promote my poetry. And then I was like, why? Because this is everything that I love to do. And it's all interconnected. It's all layered. And so these are things to proportion and not to get rid of. And so anyway, it's just kind of how the portfolio page is set up and the confusion. But anyway, my foundation of my living art is the rainbow that Marco did for me. And that was the only shoot that I've ever done with Marco. I moved to Michigan, and I have not seen him in person since. That kind of sucks. I haven't seen little Marco since I was 21. How sad. And he's fabulous in every way, shape, or form, that from what I can tell online. I love gay Halloween, and so that's usually when I really see him shine. He's not overly active on social media anymore, but I do have his Instagram on there for anyone who's interested in Marco. I don't know his dreams or his desires. It would be a shame for his photography and his creative vision to not either rebirth or to be continued to be put to use. I would love to work with Marco again in like a photo shoot scenario. He has such a good eye for detail, and like I look so fabulous in a way that, especially at that time, I don't think I ever would have I didn't feel confident at that time as in the outfit with like the makeup. Like it was definitely out of my comfort zone. I was deeply insecure at that time for a variety of reasons that are all justified, but in reflection, I'm so glad that I overcame all of that, and I trusted him, and I let him push me out of my comfort zone and to express myself in this way. Cause it's a beautiful collection. It's a beautiful portfolio. And I guess to go back and appreciate things more, right? But that's why I also think it's the foundation. And again, it paves the way for the full spectrum of creativity that has been my life since over the past 9 going on 10 years. The only thing that I wish I could have my blonde photos on here. Definitely don't have them. Though they would be on my Instagram, and I'm not going to screenshot all of those tiny little things. For those who care, you can go to, let's see, it's Melanoe, Macaria, Morningstar. I believe it's in my link tree, but you can scroll through that craziness and see the whole journey. I delete very few things. I don't believe in the mood board of Instagram or whatever. The only things I've deleted are like silly man crush Mondays and like those random posts, but anything that was like a photo album worthy photo, it's on there. So I do know that there are quite a few of my blonde modeling photos for those who care. So with that concludes my Living Art episode 1, the Rainbow Collection. So I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for the next Living Art story. I'll come up with a better phrase, maybe.